In today's episode, we discuss the fatherly role model of Captain Benjamin Sisko from Star Trek's Deep Space Nine. So set your phasers astun, true believers. Another episode of You're Not My Father is here. Welcome back to You're Not My Father, the best family-friendly podcast from Alaska and this side of Anchorage, the sunny side, that is. I'm your host, Thomas Brando Greenman. Every week, we share fatherly advice, humor, insights, and interviews that can help you help yourself and your family. So if you don't have a father, need a supplemental father, a really good parent, role model, and just need really good wisdom, then hey, this podcast is made for you. So relax. Enjoy. Relax. Just sit back and relax. Enjoy. And don't forget, positivity is contagious. And please subscribe to our podcast so you can get notified when new episodes drop. And plus, it'll make me really happy. Like, seriously happy. All you've got to do is just one click. Today's show is totally not sponsored by SodaStream, but man, is it cost effective and pretty tasty, especially with all the great syrups that you can get on Amazon and other places. And if you're not SodaStream, or maybe you're somebody else, maybe it's a small company, or maybe you've got your own personal podcast, you've got some disposable income, and you want to dispose of it with us and help you spread the word on your product, let us know at our new website, YNMFshow.com. So today we're going to explore the first part of a recurring series of episodes that delve into fatherly role models. So as a child of the 80s and 90s, I feel like I was in the golden age of entertainment. And as such, I had access to all these amazing characters on the big screen and the little screen. Larger than life, these characters kind of spoke to me. They influenced me and molded me in ways that I'm only now beginning to truly understand. And in the absence of having a father in my everyday life, I had to make choices of Hollywood's greatest role models ever assembled. But honestly, when I think of just one role model that really influenced me, there's just one man. And that's Avery Brooks and his portrayal of Benjamin Sisko in Star Trek's Deep Space Nine. Before I get to why, let me explain how I got to this amazing show. So as a kid, I was a major Star Wars fan. In fact, it might have been my first movie ever that I ever saw in a theater. The facts are a little fuzzy about that, but let's just say it is. So I had the action figures. I would say the lines from the movie that everybody knew. And also even did the impressions. It was a big deal to me. But, outside of wanting to be a Jedi and have those amazing powers, as like Obi-Wan Kenobi, Obi-Wan wasn't much of a father mentor, in the way that he's portrayed. It just didn't speak to me. I didn't see him as like a father, even though that kind of was the gist of it. Anyway, over the years, my love of Star Wars never really faded. But in those years, there appeared to be two camps at this point in time. Those that love Star Wars and those that love Star Trek. Now, at that time, I never considered myself a Trek fan. Trekkies, they were called. It seemed like a big nerd thing to me. The show would be on our 3 TV stations, and it kind of crept in and ruined my need for things like Transformers, He-Man, G.I. Joe, or those types of stuff. While we're on the subject, I was also mad at Star Trek in particular, but also the Flintstones, I Love Lucy, Gilligan's Island, anything soap opera related, and especially the Jerry Lewis Telethon, which seemed to run all weekend, the news and more. If it wasn't one of my shows, I had a distaste for it. The child me was a harsh critic. So fast forward to high school, and Star Trek The Next Generation comes out. I wasn't impressed at first, until I saw the new Klingons and the Borg. And so there's nothing quite like having a big bad guy or impressively intimidating dressed group of ruffians to be like, whoa, this is awesome, dude. I may have even said the word radical, but it felt something altogether different to me. And it was. There was kind of a magic there. But high school and college kind of steered me away from TVs and movies for several years. And I kind of moved on. And so after college, I found myself with a lot more time on my hands for a lot of different reasons. And for whatever reason, Star Trek The Next Generation was either still on or it was in reruns. And I really found myself being more involved with it and becoming a Star Trek fan. Although there weren't that many folks that weren't, at least in my area. It kind of had a stigma attached to it. I know it sounds weird, but some of the parts of the South that I grew up in were not kind to change, and likely still aren't. But being in Rome, I felt the pressure to be a Roman, but I was always kind of a rebel in those cases. And to me, Star Trek felt a little rebellious. So looking back on it, I wasn't in the right place at the right time. And I think it's one of the reasons why I left. And I'm glad I did. But let's kind of move a little bit further in time. So I got my first real job that I liked. It was working at a hotel during the night shift. And so the first couple hours were pretty busy. But the rest of the night, I was more of a caretaker to sleeping guests and late arrivals. With just me to keep me company and awake, it's kind of an odd change of pace. So anyway, we had a TV in the lobby, and so it was supposed to be on the Weather Channel pretty much all the time. But at nighttime, the lobby was kind of like my kingdom. And the king wanted to be entertained. I think we had HBO and some other channels, but overall, mostly basic cable, which is in itself is pretty basic. But one night I saw the new Star Trek show, and I wondered, what is this? There wasn't a ship. It was just a space station. And they didn't go anywhere. At first, I didn't think there was much of anything. And being in the South, the elephant in the room, there was a black guy who was in charge. That was interesting. But he wasn't a captain. That figures. Wouldn't you know it? But I kept it on in the background. And so every night, another episode seemed like it was on. And that's when I realized something. These characters kind of spoke to me, and their stories kept going. It wasn't episodic. It was more serialized. The characters grew and morphed and changed. A lot kind of like I was. I felt a commonality with him. And this black commander, Sisko, he was a widowed father. He was taking care of his son way out in the middle of nowhere, dealing with all sorts of problems. But he was always kind and understanding with everyone. He treated everyone with respect. Of course, till it was time not to. So he could be stern, but he was also warm and inviting. He was a very real kind of human aspect to him that I couldn't put my finger on, but I felt connected to his character. So he spoke. I listened. He acted. I took note. He made mistakes. I learned. He showed warmth and courage. Of course, I absorbed it. So I can't tell you everything about what makes an amazing role model. There are several reasons. I can could talk on for hours. But growing up in the South as a very aware of who I was, blonde-haired, blue-eyed white boy, even this black character had this big impact on me that continues to this day. And I know he's a fictional character, but I also know that that's okay. It doesn't matter where we get our faith, our humanity, our courage, or our capacity to love. If it makes you a better person from the experience, isn't that the point? The role model of Sisko isn't real per se, but the lessons I learned from him are. And I'll tell you this, there are role models everywhere. If you just look for them. They're not just in movies, TVs, books, but they're all around you. Put down your phone. Watch. Listen. Maybe you'll see it out at a restaurant or overhear a conversation on the phone. It may be hard to separate the good from the bad, but you'll get there. I think we all have a part of us that understands what constitutes a good role model and what they look or sound like. The saying that even a broken clock tells us the right time twice a day. People are like that too. So if you're like I was, without a father figure in life, don't fret. Look for it. And if you're looking for this podcast, if you're listening to this podcast, chances are you're probably already doing a great job. And if you haven't seen Deep Space Nine, give it a try. Watch a couple episodes. Start from the beginning. You can watch on Netflix, Amazon Prime, and apparently always at Paramount Plus. They own the show. I wrote this idea several months back, but in the world of podcasting, as you probably may or may not know, a lot of episodes are kind of recorded in advance. And so showing how the sausage is made, pulling the curtain back, and pay no attention to that man behind the curtain. A lot of podcasters tend to do that. They will record a bunch of episodes in advance and just kind of put them out. And I wouldn't say that I follow into that, but I kind of come up with ideas and write up articles on a lot of this type of things in advance. But I don't always record them in advance. I tend to get it done, and it's kind of more with the times. And so kind of with the times right now, there's a lot of stuff going on in the world. If you're listening to these episodes chronologically, the last episode we were talking about was Ukraine. And I won't say anything more about it, except that my heart really goes out to the people of Ukraine, and really people who are involved in war in general. Not just those people suffering, but there's people suffering around the world for things similar to this. And I hate it for them. I don't wish that on anyone. And not to turn this into anything really serious, but there's a lot of change going on in the world at this point in time. Honestly, I'm happy to say that I can say that I have a black man as a amazingly positive role model in my life. At the time I was watching this show, Deep Space Nine, I couldn't say that to too many of my friends. Specifically the white ones. The black ones would definitely understand. But even then, it was hard to... Role models were a bit of a challenge. I think for guys in general, you're kind of looked on as, you're tough and you can take it and don't cry, and, you're not a real man if, all that stuff kind of goes on and on. But guys are just the same as anybody else, really. We have some physiological differences, but mentally and emotionally, we're pretty much the same. Maybe not exactly. I mean, we're all different, but we want caring and attention and love and validation for who we are. We need advice. We need strong advice. And the name of my show being You're Not My Father and fatherly advice and everything, and I say this all the time. And if you're a new listener, let me just make it clear that I don't believe that my sex in any way, or anybody's sex in anybody's way, should get in the way of being a good role model or a good influence. No matter your race, creed, culture, sex, age, everybody has something that they're good at, and they have the potential to benefit others, to help. I've kind of shied away from Twitter for a long time, and I still don't like Twitter, but I'm trying to be more of a positive voice out there. This podcast to me is my way of helping other people out. The help and advice I got over the years honestly came from such a diverse array of people. And a lot of them are women. A lot of fantastic, strong, just salt of the earth. There was all manner of women that got me to where I was. And it was amazing, but it wasn't structured. I still believe that having a man in a child's life, especially if they're a man or a boy, man, whatever, you kind of need that shared experience. You need that, what did you do? Because a lot of that's what this is about, like in life in general. In a business, you're always wanting to see somebody who is similar to you and what they did. I think that might be maybe that's not a de facto role model definition, but it's a truism, that we all look for. If you're a gay woman or a gay man, you probably look to people like yourself and see what they've done. What's your success and how did that influence your life? And can you do that too? In the same token, that's just kind of where we are, whether you kind of admit to it or not. Of course, I left my phone on, so you're going to hear beeping noises and whatnot. But that was one of the things I really liked about the Sisko character was, emotionally, I kind of felt like I was in the same place. He lost his wife. At that point in time, I'd come out of a lot of crazy relationships, but I was engaged at one point. So I kind of felt this loss. I didn't have a son, but he's still running around being a loudmouth. Before I had to tell him to be quiet several times. But I can't imagine being a father and losing your mate, your wife, or whoever it might be. And then it just being you and your child. I mean, the courage that you have to have, the strength that you have to have, it's I can't even articulate it. It's got to be a challenge. So you're surviving, but beyond that, you're going to thrive too. And I think that was one of the things that he did. He was still happy. He was still positive. He was still doing what he needed to do. And I think that's one of the things that, even at my age, I'm still learning that you have to be positive. You have to keep pushing yourself and others. You know, you have to lift them up. Sometimes that's just what life is about. Being a good role model is about lifting people up and helping them get where they need to be. Because in the same way, it kind of gets you where you want to be in some way. But I'm kind of rambling here. I think if you're going to take anything away from this episode, I'm going to challenge you with this. Find a role model, an unconventional one. Look at them. Find that advice that they can provide. Look beyond their skin color, their sex, their religious views. Go beyond and find what it is that you're looking for from them. They can get you to the next level. And if you're going to record a podcast, pick a better time than dinner time to record your podcast, because you're going to get all these noise like squeaking doors and kids running around making a ton of noise. That type of stuff. But anyway, that's what I've got to talk about this time. But yeah, watch Deep Space Nine. I think one or two things. You'll either really enjoy it or you won't. But like most things in the entertainment realm, I can tell you this. The first couple episodes of certain things sometimes will put you off. And then at some point you come back to them and you're like, that was really something. I've got plenty of examples of that happening in my life. That, man, I hate this. You come back to it and you're like, this is the best thing ever. Maybe that's just me. But we're going to end the show on that note. Be sure to subscribe to us and get your weekly dose of You're Not My Father. We're available on so many different podcast platforms. Pick your poison. Choose the podcast platform you want to be on. And you'll probably find us there. Now, if you found this podcast useful in any way, please help spread the word on social media. Tell your friends, your pets, your fish, your pet rock, anybody else who will listen. You can also follow us on Facebook.com/YNMF show. And we've got a brand new website. You can listen to all our episodes directly from the website. You can do a bunch of cool stuff there. You can even read a little bit about us. We're going to have our own blog, as if you wanted more. Links to our social media platforms. Feel free to engage with us on that. I'm hoping to have some really cool stuff planned for that type of thing. Nothing too major, nothing out of the ordinary, not super amazing, but just fun. Just fun stuff, fun things that'll keep you positive. And we're doing that on a regular basis, so enjoy. But as always, remember, if you're a fan of us, we're a fan of you. And you can do it. I believe in you. Take that to heart. But also, take it easy. Stay positive. And remember, good vibes only.